Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to Dr. Bongsio and my beloved friends. My name is Wajdi Husni bin Mohamd Nizam, and I'm from PPISMP Match 3 2025-2030. Today, I will present on heuristic problem solving using computational thinking. This presentation focuses on how computational thinking can be applied to solve a non-routine mathematical problem in a structured and meaningful way. In addition, I will explain how different components of computational thinking support decision making and improve problem solving skill in real life situations. To begin, let us define our core subjects, the non-routine problems. Unlike routine exercise that simply require the application of a known formula, a non-routine problem is an intellectual roadblock where the path to the solution is not immediately obvious. It demands high-order thinking skills or HOTS, forcing us to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information. Because there is no fixed recipe for success, this problem encourages a culture for exploration. They are not just about finding the answer, but about the cognitive journey and the justification of the choice that we make along to solve the problem or some situation. Our presentation is grounded in educational theory. Anwar and Hafian 2023 emphasis that engage with non-routine problem is fundamental to develop critical thinking. They argue that when students are challenged to justify their reasoning, they transition from surface-level memorization to a state of deep understanding. This aligns with the constructive view of learning, where the student is an active participant. By wrestling with this complexity, we improve our reasoning skill, which are essential tools for any modern educator. Now, let's apply this to a scenario we all know well: examination preparation. Imagine a student facing 5 different subjects over 5-day period with a strict limit of only 4 hours for study per day. Not all subjects are created equal. Some are conceptual, which others are more straightforward. The problem here is not just about reading book; it's about strategy. Resource management. How do we maximize performance when time is our most scarce resource? This scenario serves a perfect microsome for the complex multivariable decision we face in daily life. So, to tackle the complexity, we are using computational thinking, (PCT). Popularized by Janet Wing, computational thinking is not about thinking like a computer, but rather about thinking in a way that allows us to solve problems systematically. It provides a logical scaffolding through 6 key pillars. First is decomposition, and next is the pattern recognition. Next is abstraction. For the third is algorithm design. For the fifth is a logical reasoning, and lastly, evaluation. By applying this, we turn an overwhelming task into a series of manageable, or we call it a logical step. Okay, now we are moved to the first pillar. The first pillar is decomposition. Imagine trying to eat an entire cake in a one bite. It is impossible, right? You must to slice it into a small pieces before you try to eat the entire cake. Now it's similar. We break our study problem into its core variables. So first is what are the specific subjects. Second is exactly how many minutes, how many hours do we have in total. And lastly, what is the difficult rating for each subject? So what subject is most difficult or less difficult? We need to identify it. According to Santos Trigo 2022, this reduction of complexity is the first step in successful problem solving because it prevents cognitive overload and allows us to focus on one subtask at a time. Next, we are looking for pattern. In our study scenario, we might notice a recurring trend. The most abstract a subject is, the longer it takes to reach a state of flow, or we want to what is subject we take a much time to understand it. So we recognize it. We recognize that the past experience tell us that technically subject usually require more mental energy than descriptive one. By identifying this trend, we don't have to revert the wheel for every subject. We can apply our general understanding of learning curve to make information prediction about how much time is truly necessary for certain subject before the examination start. For the third, we move to the abstraction. Abstraction is perhaps the most critical skill for efficiency. It involves filtering out the noise on focus on the signal. When planning a study schedule, the color of your pen or the specific room you are irrelevant to the core logic of the time allocation. We strip the problem. You strip the problem down to its bare existential. Time available versus task difficulty. By ignoring these distractions, we simplify our mental model, allowing us to direct our full focus toward the factor that actually impact our performance during study and during build the study schedule. Now, after we do the decomposition, pattern recognition, and expression, we are moving to the algorithm. We build the algorithm, which is the step-by-step solution or instruction manual for our solution. Our algorithm follow a strict sequence. First, categorize subject by difficult. Second, assign a time weight to each category. Third, map the weight into our 5-day calendar. Fourth, execution the plan. And fifth, build the buffer for review. So this structure procedure ensure that our solution is repeatable and that no subject is accidentally neglected due to the poor organization. After that, we use a logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is the why behind the what. As a core mass and Irving 2023 suggests, every decision is our schedule. Every decision in our schedule must be defensible. If I spend 3 hours on mathematics and only 1 hour on mathematics, my logical justification is that the failure risk or complexity to mathematics is statistically higher for me. We move away from guessing and towards evidence based on decision making. We significantly increase the accuracy of our final outcome, which is our result during our final examination or examination. Now, the final computational thinking pillar, which is evaluation. After we are doing decomposition, pattern recognition, after we are doing abstraction, we're doing algorithm design, and we do a logical reasoning. Here is the final step that we should do, which is evaluation. This is our quality control phase. After drafting the schedule, we must ask, is this realistic? Can a human actually focus for 4 hours straight without a break? If the answer is no, we must iterate and refine our plan. Evaluation ensure that our solution is not just good on paper, but effective in a practice or effective in a real life situation. It allows us to reflect on our biases and correct them before they lead to an unmanageable workload. Now, you are moving to the strategy. Within this framework, we can employ different heuristic strategies. For instance, strategy 1 might be hardest best approach, tackling the most daunting subject, which is our mental energy is as in the peak, which is we choose to spend more time for the difficult subject, like the example give, which is mathematics. So the second might be an equal distribution for a balanced but purpose less targeted effort. So we have 5 subjects, we have 4 hours, so every day we divide 5 subjects for the 4 hours with a same time we spend it. So every subject get a same time for study, so no bias. And the third strategy could be exam chronology. Focus on what comes first in the exam hall. So what is the first day, what is the first subject that you will examination, so you choose that subject to study more. So each heuristic often offer a different tactical advantage depending on the student's specific needs. After we already know all of the strategy that we can use, all of the heuristic strategy that we can use for solving this problem or this situation, we need to do a comparison. Comparing this strategy is vital because it involves professional judgment, while wish list equal time is the easiest to implement. It is often the least efficient because it ignores the reality of subject difficulty. Conversely, prioritizing difficult subject is highly effective for grades but can lead to burnout if not management, because some students they have their own limit to study, and the stage of the process required to weigh the pros and cons, demonstrating that it's not non-routine problem. The best solution is often a trade-off between competing priorities. So it depends to the student what strategy that they will use. Is it the ability can hold the momentum or not? In this presentation, I also have my own strategy that I choose, and I think the strategy is very suitable for solving this. The strategy that I will choose is prioritizing based on difficulty. This because this is supported by Tan and Mohamd 2024, who argue that target intervention in weak areas yield in the highest return on investment. By dedicating our best hour to a harder subject, we maximize the learning gain. This strategy is not just about working harder, it's about working smarter by aligning our effort with our greatest need. In summary, the synergy between comprehensive thinking and problem solving is profound. Comprehensive thinking provides the skeleton, and problem solving provide the action. Together they transform a chaotic situation into a structured, logical, and highly efficient workflow. This methodology is not limited to the classroom. It is the same process used by engineers, leaders, and scientists to navigate the complexity of modern work. An important I have gain from this task is the importance of flexibility. We often search for a perfect answer, but it's not routine problem. Perfection is an illusion in this case or in this situation. What matters is the robustness of our logic and our ability to adapt our strategy as a new information arises. Computational thinking does not just give us an answer, it gives us a mindset, a way to remain calm and analytic when faced with uncertainty. Reflecting on this process, the strengths are clear. The approach is systematic, repeatable, and deeply enhance our critical thinking. However, we must remain mindful of its limitations. Our solutions are only as good as our assumptions. If we misjudge the difficulty of a subject, our entire algorithm may require recalibration. Furthermore, computational thinking often focuses on a logic, sometimes overlooking external factors like physical health or emotional well-being, which are also vital for academic success. In conclusion, this presentation has addressed all three essential questions through the application of computational thinking in solving a non-routine mathematical problem. First essential question is, what does it mean to think computationally in mathematics? Thinking computationally involves solving problems in a structured and logical way by breaking them down into smaller components, identifying patterns, focusing on relevant information, and applying step-by-step procedure. Same like the presentation above, we need to divide the problem into time management, into the subject difficult, and then we recognize pattern by past examination. After that, we do abstraction, which is we know every information like the note that the color of pen that they use for study, and the room design, and we do a algorithm design, which is step-by-step solution, have 5 solution, 5 steps, and we do a logical reasoning and evaluate. For the second essential question is, how does computational thinking help in solving non-routine mathematical problem? So it's help solving non-routine mathematical problem because computational thinking provide a systematic framework that enable learning to analyze complex problem, apply multiple strategies, justify the reasoning, and evaluate the solution effectively. And thirdly, why is the computational thinking important beyond routine problems? It is important because it's developed critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills that are applicable not only in mathematics but also in real life situation. Because computational thinking not only for students but also for the engineers, scientists, and also for the other people who are working with mathematical method. So most importantly, this presentation aligns with the pedagogical capacity, meaningful learning (KPBB), as it promoted meaningful learning through activity, engagement, critical thinking, and the application of knowledge in real-world content. In addition, this presentation reflects the back idea for this task, which is mathematics as a universal language for empowering teacher with computational thinking skill, as it demonstrates how mathematical thinking can be used as a powerful tool to develop structure, reasoning, problem-solving ability, and meaningful learning experiences. That's all for me. Thank you for watching, Doctor.